All right. Long on the Nasdaq stops at 31.25. I want to see a breakout move to the upside, and I want to try to lock in 46.75 as quickly as I can if this does want to rally higher. But I do have a target up at 54.75, trying to see if they want to push a little bit further. Again, I'm trying to play off of these sellers attempting to fade the highs and failing on a very strong bullish market. And as they fail more of them will exit. And when sellers are exiting, they turn into buyers.
ANY is halted on a circuit breaker. Alpha November Yankee halted on a circuit breaker at the high, $5.92 after a spike to the high, Alpha November Yankee.
Driving the impression is the euro is not heading towards recession.
ECB Draghi says impression is that euro is not heading towards a recession.
I mean, sometimes he's kind of boring to listen to, but I don't know if I'd call him draggy.
Shares of Apple hit a low of 172.78, now at just off the high 174.82. Alpha Papa Lima. Netflix hitting new highs 261.43. November Foxtrot Lima X-ray.
Drug again at the current time we expect bond buying in December. Again at Draghi current time expecting to end bond buying in December.
Come on, Nasdaq, spike these sellers out. 46.75 where I'm looking to lock my stop in. Here's some of the sellers running. They may try to get an internal pullback on this next candle. I do want to see this candle close weak on the bear side, or preferably even go back up again. We're seeing the sellers run. If they snap above this most recent big bull bar, that's likely where you'll see the rest of it. Stop. Whoa, what the hell was that slippage? Whoa. All right, well, I'm out on the Nasdaq. I got slipped like crazy on that one. Wow. I locked my stop in, and my stop I put in at 46.75. I got filled at 45.5. What? Thanks, low volume. What was the signal for getting in on the Nasdaq? The reason I like the Nasdaq long is because I believe the sellers were trying to come in and push the market back down to a new low. Remember we were talking about down here, we were talking about it more referencing for Amazon, but the same context hold true, where UVXY was looking for a downtick. And if the UVXY is looking for a downtick, we're looking for an uptick in the markets, right? That downtick that we were talking about was right here, that short signal to the downside. And that did fire off and then came back immediately. So with that comeback, back up again, but making a lower high, not breaking to a new high of day, you're going to have a lot of sellers who are looking at this move saying, yeah, I know it's a bear day, you know, the Nasdaq's up 400 whatever ticks, but this could be a potential area to try to sell into to drive the market down. Now, there are some very obvious red flags to this. This leg up is gargantuan, and it's very likely going to come with a second leg up and potentially even more. Zoom back a little bit further, we have a bull trend, right? It's been going up since the first candle of the day, arguably. It opened with a small gap up, filled the gap, and then just went flying higher. And what area becomes a big area of interest, right? This major swing high. This was the swing high before this huge pullback. So this big old pullback, we know that buyers are going to be buying into the pullback. They've been probably buying into the pullback since back here, right? The scale-in buyers that we always talk about. But as we start rolling back higher again, we can see very obviously the buyers are coming back in. Now, you know, in this point in time, we were talking about there was a long trade inside of here, but it required a 40 to 50 tick stop, and I just wasn't comfortable with that risk on the small account challenge. So I had to stay out of it, right? We talked about it. Maybe you took it, maybe you didn't. I don't know. I know some folks did, some folks didn't. Whatever. I didn't. And as we see that next continuation to the upside, we have a very shallow high. Now, that shallow high would normally make me relatively concerned, but what are we coming off the backs of? We're coming off the backs of a very strong trap low. Very strong because it couldn't even close below that low. And making it even stronger, it never even pulled back to test, right? Some of the best failed breakouts come with a retest. And the stronger it is, the less that retest occurs. And in this case, it didn't even come close. I mean, the closest it came back was the pullback that we bought after. And that it kind of gives away why I wanted to buy after it. But I wanted to see where that pullback came down to. You know, are we going to go all the way back down and retest? If so, there's a very low probability trade, but a monstrous reward versus risk, because you can buy in here with a stop just below the low and a target way the heck up here. I mean, the risk reward in that is gargantuan. That's the type of trade that I'm normally looking for with the small account challenge. But in this case, it didn't even pull back. I mean, it made it, what, not even 50% of the way? So when we have that type of situation, we know that sellers are probably trying to push in and go against a strong move up, thinking that this is way too long. It went on too far, and they're looking for a rollover to retest the bottom. But we have compensating factors showing that the buyers are taking over that traders may or may not have been paying attention to. May not have been if they were trapped on that. So knowing that sellers are trapped and knowing that we're coming off the back of a failed move and a shallow high, looking for that retest in a very not even close retest. When it starts turning back up again, the sellers are going to start running scared, right? They realize they're wrong. They probably realize they were wrong somewhere inside of here and exited above some of these bull bars, which is likely why that move up was so strong. But the residual sellers, right? The residual sellers who are saying, okay, you know what? I'll sell a little bit more, see if it can average out at break even, and then reverse. They weren't even given a chance, right? They didn't even get a chance to get out of break even. It didn't even allow it, right? It came back to a 21 moving average and bounced right back up again. So we know that sellers are stuck, and where are they going to get out? Where does everybody have their stop, right? It doesn't matter who it is. Their stop is almost always behind a swing, behind a candle, behind a major swing. They're in obvious areas, right? I mean, no, you don't have to be a rocket scientist to figure out that there's going to be a boatload of stops above this high. Now, why is my entry one tick ahead of it? Well, for the same reason that I got hit here, slippage, right? We're trading Nasdaq in the off season with a huge amount of volume and a ridiculous amount of lack thereof of volume per level, right? Look at the volume per level, 6, 3, 6. Well, I mean, if 3 of us took that trade, we've already taken up the entirety of a bid, right? Or an ask or whatever. So knowing that there's a lot of slippage, I need to get in before that breakout occurs, which is why my entry is at the highs. Their stops are one tick above the high. My entry is at the highs. And that's trying to get in slightly early to assume that they get popped and it goes, right? So I know that was a long-winded way to explain it's a sell-side trap, but I feel like there's a lot of context here that needs to be explained, and that's why. Sellers are stuck, basically, if you want the easy rundown.